everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all how to make this armor on Mannequin Skywalker here. The shoulders are sloping down a bit, but that's because he doesn't have any arms. But how to make that armor out of this downloadable template for sale on my Etsy, and also listed to my $10 and up patrons on my Patreon, where you can make it out of either foam or leather. I draft all of my templates out of foam, so with just a few extra steps you can make it into finished armor, or you can make it out of leather, which will last you a lifetime. So let's get started. In this project, you can be doing this on foam or leather. For leather armor, especially if you're a LARPer, I recommend just as thick as you can get. This is about a 10-ounce vegetable tanned leather. And then for foam, anywhere between a 5 and 10 millimeter can work really well. But I do also recommend, if you're going to put a lot of work into it and you really want your armor to last, go ahead and make the investment into leather, because with this stuff, you can bend it every single which way. You can take it, and it's good. A little bit of scuffing, it'll buff right out, but I mean, if you did that to foam or to Warbler, I think, I know I would cry if somebody did that to my foam or Warbler work. But just be mindful of the medium you're working in. Whenever you download your template, either from my Patreon digital downloads or my Etsy store, this is what it will look like. I am not fancy and have not learned how to use Inkscape, but these are the same exact templates that I use. You'll print them off, and here you can see, if you line up pieces A and pieces B of each segment, like you'll want to cut them out and then you can like tape them together. And they'll just line up right into being, this is it transferred onto foam. And for me, I just have written cut 4. But shoulder plate part A, only add hole number 2 here for the top plate. So to demonstrate, here I have 2 of the shoulder plates, and this one has 2 holes and this one only has 1 hole. So the 1 hole here would, with a rivet, or if you're doing foam, you could just use a brad. That way it still has a little bit of mobility. It would just line up like that, and then you would put your rivet through to set, and you would do that on both sides. And so your shoulder plate will be sitting like this. And so if you wanted to have multiple, like if you wanted to do more than 2, because this is just for the 2-plate design, but if you're doing leather armor for yourself and you would like more, then your center piece and your top piece would both have 2 holes. And again, that top one would line up with the bottom one, and you would rivet. And so it would look like that, which looks really cool. So again, just the more work you want to put into something, go for it. But these will stack all day long, though it does get to a point beyond 3 that you'll want to start actually using, like, instead of it being rounded like this, it would be a rectangular piece. But I will be doing a tutorial on that later. So that is our shoulder plate. We will want 4 of those, and I tried to make this as mirror imaged as I could, so you could cut 2 and then flip it and cut 2, but it should come out just the same. The next piece is the shoulder strap, this part here. And so again, you'll want to cut these out. On all of my printable patterns, I have a little scale to where whenever you print this off, you want to make sure that it's accurate to size. So that will be either 25 millimeters or 1 inch. So that way, sometimes your printer will be like adjust to fit, or it might not download properly. So it's just a little scale reference. So again, you'll cut out parts A and B. And here you can see where we have the holes marked. Now this one, you want to draw it out, mark the holes, and then flip it. So here you can see, I have it written out, cut 2. The curved side goes against the neck. It gives you enough room to be able to like move your head around and stuff. But those 3 holes. These 2 larger holes I punch with a 1/4 inch punch, and then this one I punch with a 1/8 inch punch. This is for a rivet. These are for either eyelets or threading lace through, so we'll get to that in a minute. Now this one is the last piece. It is the chest and the back. And again, you'll cut it along the dotted lines, tape them together. All of the holes on this one are 1/4 inch holes, and then for this long punch here, you could use a punch like this that cuts out like just a little segment, makes it end up looking like that, or you can use your 1/4 inch punch and punch a hole on each end and then use your box knife to cut out. So there's always a workaround if you don't have the right tools. And so in this one, again, I made it as mirror imaged as possible, so you can just cut out 2 of these, one for the front and one for the back. There will be a link down in the video description below, as well as possibly a card popping up somewhere. Maybe, I'm not really reliable on that kind of thing. So, but to where I show how to go through cutting out the leather, doing all the tooling, doing the finish, staining, the finishing, the edge slicking, all of that stuff. But in this video, I just wanted to show you how to do the assembly. So here I have 6 lengths of paracord. This is the 5mm paracord. I have melted the ends, and it's cut to 30 inches long. So 6 30-inch segments. And I'm going to set that aside. You could use buckles, but I'm just going to be using paracord because I found that actually gives us a broader range of mobility, as well as a broader range of different sizes that we can do. Now I'm going through and using rapid rivets from Tandy Leather in both the medium and large. I think, let me double check and make sure that they're not extra large. Yeah, just medium and large. You could use, excuse me, you could use tube rivets. And I've lost my voice. Okay. You could use tube rivets, but I found like I actually really injured this thumb a few years ago trying to set tube rivets. So, rivets. Anyways, rapid rivets or whatever you like. Again, if you're working with foam, you could use paper brads, so you don't even really have to worry about this part. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to take our large rivet. Let me zoom in so y'all can get a better look at what's going on. And I'm going to do this on the bare granite as opposed to the cutting mat, because I like to give it a very flat, flush back. And I'm just going to thread that rivet through the hole. And then I'm going to hold this down, and then I'm lining up through hole number 2 on the second plate. And then I'm going to place our rivet cap, and then use our little setter, which has a rounded end and a flat end. Put the rounded end over the cap, and then hit the flat end with our hammer. Caution, loud noises. Okay. So now we have a nice setting there. There's a little bit of a hinge action going on, which is why I keep the back flat. If I were to set the rivet on the cutting mat, it would have settled in and kind of bitten into the leather a bit, which some people prefer, but I really wanted this hinge action to be able to happen. So now we're going to go through and do that same thing on the other side. So again, just threading the rivet through from back, setting it flat on the surface, which with the leather being heat formed like this, like I cased it in very hot water and then put it into its form to dry, it's kind of hard to get it to flatten back out. So what I've done here is I've moved my granite slab and my poundo board to the edge of my work surface, because this will let me take advantage of the curve kind of being able to fit. We can actually turn it so that the point is coming out towards me even just a little bit more. So I'm going to feed that rivet through. And feed that rivet through. And now you can see how it's sitting. If I had an anvil, I would totally be using the horn of the anvil right now. And I'm going to use the rivet cap. And Okay, I was gonna say, did I already lose my rivet setter? I have like 5 of these and I lose them constantly. There we go. A nice solid attachment. Still a little bit of hinging action, which is nice. But now we can take this and attach it to our shoulder strap. So we zoom out for you. I think you have a better idea now of how to do the rivets, but I want you to be able to see the big picture of what we're doing. You do have some options here. Used to, I would attach this to the underside of the shoulder strap, but you can see that left a very big space and it kind of limited the mobility. So now I take it and I set it on top of the shoulder strap, and I really like the look that that gives us. You'll get a better idea as we zoom out and get it onto old mannequin Skywalker. That's my mannequin's name. Never mind. So again, making sure that it's on the straight side, coming to the edge of our work, and now if your leather is too thick, you can use a tool called a skiver or a skiver. It's like a potato peeler for leather, but it'll just shave down the backside. You only want to do it on the backside, but it'll give yourself a little bit more room for your rivet to fit through. Okay, so placing that rivet cap. There we go. Because if you don't have enough of a connection coming through, like enough of the rivet coming through, it's not going to make a solid and secure connection. So now for the other side, coming around, just going to feed through the back like that. And then I'm going to feed through hole number 1 on the top shoulder plate. Just like that. Coming again to the edge of our work, pressing everything down quite firmly. You could also use Chicago screws if you wanted to be able to take this apart, but that's, again, there's always a workaround. There we go. Whenever it's in an awkward spot like that, I always err on the side of just beating the heck out of it. So there is our shoulder. Let me zoom out for you. So here is one shoulder piece. You could very reasonably just take this, attach a loop and a loop, do a strap around the torso and a strap around the torso under the arm, and have just a standalone pauldron or spolder. Whatever it's called, it goes on your shoulder. So here you can see this is how it would sit on a human form-ish, if the camera will focus. There it goes. So you can see there's a little bit of space there, but that way you can bring your arm up. I think it looks great edged with fur. And you can do your own tweaking on the design too if you don't like that space there. But whenever he doesn't have an arm, so whenever you have your arm in there, it really fleshes it out some. Like, see? And it lets you bring it up. So unless you're doing like jumping jacks in your shoulder armor, which, I mean, LARPers, you never know, then you should be pretty good. And you could just bring it around, you could shave that down a little bit. That's why I actually draft all of my templates in foam first, that way I can try it on, see how it suits my particular needs, and then work from there. So please use this template either exactly as is, or feel free to make all the modifications that you can think of to it to make it really your own. And that's Randy in the background. He's my guinea pig. He wears a lot of the armor and he gives me the okay about whether or not it's comfortable for him. So I have assembled both of our shoulder pieces, and again, like I had said, you could just stop here. You could use this part of the pattern for shoulders, and then you could just do this part of the pattern sans the holes being punched, though I do still recommend the underarm torso strap for just like a simple you know, like gorget, I guess. It doesn't really cover the neck, but again, there's so many different names for these things, between historical stuff and video game stuff, and just, I don't really know what to call them, but it looks cool. And considering I do cosplay armor, that's what I'm going for. For y'all history buffs out there, though, I would love to hear your perspective on this. And speaking of history buffs, it is 4th of July, so I apologize for the exploding noises outside. Hashtag America. So what we're going to do is here on the shoulder pieces, I've sculpted or shaped the leather, so this is the back that sits kind of between the scapulas, just along the spine, and then this is curved a little bit to accommodate the pecs. I am going to come through the two ends and just pull, boop, like that. And now I'm going to thread. If the burnt ends are too large to get both of them through at once, thread one and then the other and pull those through. And then from here, you can make this very adjustable. If it's a petite person or a child wearing their parents' armor, you can really bring it in. I mean, but I'm just going to come in and from above here, so you can see how that would slide together. I like to give it about a finger's width gap, so maybe like ½ an inch between the shoulder plates, or the front and back plates of the gorget. And then feeding up and through on the bottom, and then just an overhand knot, if that's what that kind of knot is called. And that opens it up a little bit more so that we have an inch of space. But this makes it to where you don't have to open or like loosen or tighten the ties to get your head through it. And that's even to accommodate, I have a very big head, plus big hair, plus glasses. So, and now here you can see though, I pulled this loop up, took these two tails, and just threaded it through, and then pulled tight. And that keeps them from just flopping around everywhere. I don't think this has any historical accuracy. This is just a way that I've started doing it, to where you don't have to use metal buckles, because those can get kind of expensive. If you're doing like a piece like this, would have taken quite a few buckles. So again, threading through the two holes, and then through the one, and then back down through the one, and up through the two. And on this one, I'll show you what the back side looks like. So again, pulling it down, giving myself a bit of space. They do have a different variety of like conchos and slides and things that you could use, but I also kind of just like to do the knot. And you can loosen or tighten it to suit your needs. So there we go. And then I'm going to tuck the tails and then pull tight. So turned over, it just looks like that. So there's not a whole lot of anything to be biting into your shoulders. I do recommend an Under Armour with this, like a gambeson or just a padded shirt, because especially if you're going to be wearing chainmail with it. Because that stuff, I mean, that weight on your shoulders can really add up. But, so there we go. So there's that part. Now the next step is we are going to come through, and on these ones, it doesn't really matter which one's the right or left. If you did any ornamental tooling in the front but not in the back, then keep that in mind, or in mind while you're going about it. And again, from here we have different preferences. You could feed in through the back so that you have a nice smooth back, but I prefer the look actually of feeding in through the front on these ones. So we've threaded through those two holes, and now I'm going to thread through, without crossing them, these two holes. And then we can come here to the inside and tie it quite snug, just pressed up against there. You want that knot to sit as flat as you can manage it, because like if you fall, it doesn't feel good to have a tight knot, jamming in your back. And then we can flip it over And here we have the option of, I had punched multiple holes. If you share your armor, or if you're like me and you sell your armor as off the shelf to the public, you could thread through this one and have a larger, you know, it gives you about an inch or so of adjustment. Or you could go through the smaller one. Since I have a rather petite male mannequin, he's not particularly broad-shouldered, I'm going to go with the smaller one. And pulling nice and tight. And you can actually also feed this back up through in an attempt to hide or offset these ties. Also, I make them very long because, again, selling in my booth, I want it to be able to fit everyone. And I would rather have to trim off some of the tie than not have enough to fit someone. So now we're going to go through and we're going to do that same kind of tie attachment. And you don't have to use paracord either. It's just something that I prefer. A lot of people trust its durability, unless you're like really SCA, which, I mean, if you're SCA, you're not you're not making this armor anyways, because this is in no way or form historically accurate. This is, and I can't reiterate this enough because I get messages a lot from folks being like, that's not how you make chainmail. And I'm like, well, this is fantasy costume armor. You know, a lot of the things that I'm making have never existed in reality. So I'll just take that as it is. But if you want a more authentic look, you may want to go with leather cord, but I like paracord. I've used shoelaces before too. Like, I am not a picky person. And so now coming through, we're going to go through on the other side. Threading through the top and bottom layers. Tightening it down. Flipping it over. And tying nice and tight. Now this one, just to match the other side, we can tuck up through these two holes. And also, once it's mainly threaded, you could put decorative beads or something on the ends, like really accessorize this. The magic happens in the details. And so now from here, let's get this on the mannequin and see how it looks. Okay, so now you can see it will just slide right over the top. And again, when it has arms in it, they'll sit a little bit differently. So nice and centered up. And I don't know about y'all, but I think that looks pretty cool. Especially if you do a little bit of a fur edging. You could use faux fur or real fur, or I've got some tutorials out there for how to do your own hand brushed yarn fur. My symmetry is a little bit off with my hole placement on this one, but if you wouldn't believe it, I didn't follow my template on this one. The hole placement is much more accurate on the template, or at least should be. And again, if anything, just kind of hold the pieces up and double check your work as you go. I am not a very concise person, so hopefully if you are, you'll take the steps to ensure that. But again, this template is, I feel like, very affordably priced. That way, you know, you can feel very free to modify it however you like. If you make things with my templates, please feel free to sell them. Sell them to your friends and neighbors, and like put them in your Etsy store and in your booth. Like, I just provided the template, which you purchased or downloaded off of Patreon. So I already got my cut. Y'all, you did the hard work. You bought the tools and materials. You made it. This is yours now. And I'd love to see the different designs and things that you guys do. So please tag me on Instagram and Facebook if you do follow along with this tutorial or any of my videos, or just want to share pictures of your work. That way I can see what you're up to. And if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. And I'm just, guys, I'm super stoked about this. I really love the way that the ties look as opposed to the buckles. And let's actually get, this is as easy as it is to put it on too. Now, I haven't done the underarm straps, which would give it a little bit more of like staying in place. but you can kind of see it would attach, the strap would attach right here and right here, and then go under and attach to the back, and it would actually keep the back from poking out quite as much. So it would sit a little bit firmer onto the chest and shoulders. So there we are, you guys. Oop, I just elbowed. Put that over some scale mail or some chain mail or something, or even just a gambeson, and you're ready for battle. Hey y'all, thanks again for hanging out with me. And like I had said, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. If you have any future video suggestions or anything like that, or if you also make armor and you have any recommendations or tips, I would love to learn from you, because I only know the things that I have stumbled across, and I try to learn something new every single day. So thank you guys so much for sharing your experience with me, and for, like I said, hanging out. I really enjoy getting to make these videos and things for y'all. So thank you again. If you enjoy my work and you've already liked, shared, and subscribed, please consider joining me on Patreon. Pledges start at just $1. The more you pledge, the more you get. Like I had said, the $10 tiers get our Patreon digital download content, and I'm adding new stuff to that a couple times a month, like minimum, you know. So in that, you'll get access to all of my different templates that are both on Etsy and that haven't been listed on Etsy yet, or may have been discontinued or anything like that, as well as early release videos. So that way, all of my tutorials are free for everyone to watch, but over on Patreon you can get early access to it. So but don't despair if you're not a patron, or you don't want to pledge but you have a Patreon account. I post stuff, again, a couple times a week that is Patreon exclusive, but only in the sense that it doesn't also go up on my Facebook and Instagram, but you don't have to be a pledger to see it. So we've got all different kinds of stuff going on over there. I really prefer Patreon as a social media platform to like Facebook or things, because I can actually see your comments and find you guys. So but thanks again. I'll let y'all get back to crafting, but until next time, guys, happy crafting. Bye.